All right, so the transfer window gets slammed shut on Friday, and obviously clubs are busy or they are working around the clock to secure their deadline day arrivals. It brings to the fore how monies will be thrown around, and it is because money has become a central piece in clubs doing exploits in their respective leagues. It explains why, besides Leicester City, every club to have won the Premier League after Sheikh Mansour bought Manchester City in 2008 have spent more than £1 billion since that day. And it comes as no surprise that the number of trophies won by each of those clubs descends in keeping with how much cash they've had to splash. So I am asking today, how crucial has money been in clubs functioning at the very apex?
Kofi, I think crucial is an understatement. If there's a word that we can use to replace the word crucial,
maybe central,
maybe integral, because it's gone beyond integral. For clubs to stay at the top, they need to spend and spend big. And if you look around, it's not just football, across all the various sporting fraternities, you need to spend. I mean, we've seen Lakers splash money, the Nets splash money. They're bringing in A-list players, marquee players, to ensure that the teams or the clubs stay afloat in terms of their relevance and as well win trophies. I'm yet to see modern day football. When you talked about, Leicester City, that was several years ago, 5 seasons ago. Liverpool have come in to win trophies. City have won 2 trophies on the bounce here and there. So currently, if you look at the terrain, I'm yet to see a club that is, will stick its neck out to say that I'm not going to spend around even £500 million or $500 million US. I can still go ahead to win major laurels in Europe or even domestically. I'll be very, very surprised if that happens, because the big players, the best of players, are going for the best of the big bucks.
Is there a direct bearing, or if you like, correlation between spending and winning trophies or laurels?
There is, whenever you are doing statistics, there is this. Let's say if you are doing a cumulative curve or maybe a direct graph, there is something we call.
Let's speak football language.
Yeah, we are speaking football language.
Let's speak football language. Don't take me to realms I'll disgrace myself.
There is something we call line of best fit. I wanted to use that to explain to you. Let's say if you are plotting a graph, and you want a straight line, you might not get the line passing through all of the dots. But if you have majority, about 60 to 70, you choose the 60 to 70 to pass through. And that is your straight line. You might get some of the dots being just away from the main line. So the line of best fit is where the line actually passes. Why am I bringing this? You can say it's a direct link. You might get a few discrepancies. Because taking it way back, until maybe some time back, that maybe you can get a Bayern team that just came from Division 1 with Beckenbauer and his squad. Beckenbauer, Sepp Maier, and what do you call it? That short guy. What's the name? The short German striker, Gerd Müller. Bayern just came from Division 1 and through to the 70s. They started and they were winning. There was no money. Ajax, 3 straight, they were winning. You can get all of these teams winning. But in the 21st century, save a team like maybe FC Porto coming in just one bit. Tell me which team that has won the Champions League that didn't spend. You tell me. From Madrid to United to Chelsea to Barca. Even Barca in their winning, Laporta had to bring in Ronaldinho. He had to bring in marquee players for them to win. Inter Milan, they had to bring in Schneider and the likes. AC Milan, look at the crop of players that they had. So all of the teams that have won even in the Champions League in the past year, save FC Porto, every single team that has won had to
inject capital.
You can say, of course, there are a few. Even the Leicester City you were talking about was owned by a billionaire, a Thai billionaire. So every single team that has won laurels, major laurels, talk of the Champions League, talk of the league, even the FA Cup. A few, I told you can get a few of them. But even with those ones, you realize that they have billionaire owners. Fulham is owned by a billionaire owner. So even Fulham going into the Europa Cup in 2010, they had a billionaire owner. So the injection of cash as we say it, is you
it has
might
a
get
direct,
you might
bearing.
get a few, like I said, the most important is the line of best fit. You get majority of them, so it has a direct
All right,
bearing
then,
to it.
Lucky. Then I've got every reason to think that the Paris Saint-Germain project has failed, because given how much they've had to inject in the team, and you and me know the target has always been winning the Champions League, the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
So, based on the tangent you guys have had to come from, is it right for me to suggest or say that the project in Paris has failed?
For everything, I personally went there. There's the generality of it and the specifics of it. Generally, you can stick your neck out to say they've not failed. But if you look at the specifics, what are their targets, or what were their targets coming into the scene of Paris Saint-Germain?
Yeah.
I'm very certain that they were not looking at dominating French football, because it's easy to do. Lyon did that a couple of years. Once in a while, Monaco chipped in from some few titles. Leo stepped in 2 seasons ago. Paris Saint-Germain has always been there. It was all about Marseille until PSG and the likes came in. But if you look at the project that the guys are trying to build,
the Qataris,
they are trying. I do not think that they are looking at the league. And so, if the specifics of it, I think I will agree with you that the kind of capital they've injected into the club, the investments they've made, the players they bought at the time. Kofi, we are looking at this spending more than 2 billion euros in the years that they've been around. They've been around, and what has been their result up until 2 seasons ago when they made the final? Paris Saint-Germain has always come short, either at the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, at some point at round of the 16. So the specifics of it, you may want to say that yes, they failed based on their own set out targets. But I always say that for every project, you line up a project, the short term, the long term, the immediate term. Maybe they are looking at it saying, okay, in the long term, 10 years after our ownership of the club, we should be able to win the Champions League at least once or twice. Then you could say they've not failed because they are yet into their 10-year reign. Maybe they are saying that 5 years into us owning the club, we have to win the Champions League. But if they've been around for more than 5 years, their inability to win the Champions League, then you can say they failed. That's what I'm saying, that the generality of it, you could say that no, they've not failed, because in general you do not know what are their set target. But the specifics of it, because this is the French league, for crying out loud. The kind of investment, you do not bring in Mauro Icardi, you do not bring in Cavani, you do not bring in Ibrahimovic, you do not bring in Lionel Messi, you do not bring in Kylian Mbappe just to dominate the French league. You do not bring in Carlo Ancelotti, what's his name, Mauricio Pochettino, Thomas Tuchel. Pay them millions of pounds, millions of dollars every season and just win the French league. What are they? How much do the winners of the French league even get? But look at the mileage winning the Champions League brings to you. So for me, I think that the ultimate goal, like you stated, is the Champions League. So if you look at the expenditure that has gone into PSG, I want to agree with those cynics out there, the school of thought out there that says that it's been a failed project so far has been a failure. Since it has not ended, we cannot categorically conclude that. But so far, I could say that. Let me then ask
Percy, at what point should we expect them to win the Champions League?
Contrary to what Lucky is saying, they failed because the project had a period. They bought them in 2011, and when they bought PSG,
2011. So it's been 10 years now.
10 years.
Whoa, it's been over 10 years.
Their first marquee signing was Pastore from
Palermo.
And it was a 5-year period. That by the 5th year, they should have won the Champions League.
Wow.
So in 2016, when they got to the semi-final, they got to the quarterfinals against Manchester City. Ibrahimovic even said it clear that they are in the 6th year of the project, or the 5th year. That is the final phase of the first. The first phase. That's that one. They were supposed to win the Champions League. So that was when the whole thing capitulated. Then they had to restart. So in the restarting again was when Ibrahimovic left. Cavani now became the mainstay. Neymar came in and all. So the project failed after 5 years. Then they tried to inject it. They brought in Mbappe and the rest. Chelsea's project took, if you remember, Chelsea's project took 9 years before they won.
2 year dividends.
Yes, but for them, they were consistent in Champions League semi-final. They had even gone to a final once and lost against Manchester United. Yeah. So for them, you could see progression, especially in the Champions League. And for that of Chelsea too, they were playing in a relatively difficult league. They had not won the league in 50 years.
Yeah.
For that of PSG had even done well in the Champions League when Oponwia was there in 1994.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they had been there before. They had the world-class players playing before. And they had also won the league within this time.
Okay.
So for Chelsea, there was first to break the domestic dominance. And you could talk of Lyon. By then, Lyon had lost their prowess.
Yeah.
Because they had won the league 6 continuous times. They lost. Even Montpellier had won.
Yeah.
Bordeaux had won.
Yeah.
So it meant it was up for everyone to take.
Yeah.
So for PSG, winning the league wasn't a big deal. Chelsea winning the Premiership was a big deal. And they won it against the best of coaches.
Yeah.
There was the Arsenal Invincible a year before. There was Ferguson. And they had to break that dominance. Consistent in Championship for almost 6 years. Until 2010, they left in the quarterfinals against Inter Milan. Then 2012, 2011, 2012, they won. So if you look at the progression of Chelsea, Chelsea was very consistent. They knocked on the doors of supremacy in Europe consistently, and it yielded a result. For PSG, how many times have we not seen them meet Barca, capitulate, meet what do you call it, Atletico Madrid, Man City? So they meet the cathedrals and they capitulated. But Chelsea, they would meet AC Milan, they would crush them. They would meet Bayern, they would meet these big teams, Barcelona, and they would crush them. So you saw progression with Chelsea. With Chelsea, you saw progression. But with PSG, and Chelsea was doing buys that could fit into the team.
Yeah.
You could see that PSG was doing buys that were more or less like high-profile names, which were not really targeting the problems in the team.
Yeah.
Why on earth would you go in for a Messi when you have a midfield deficiency? Why on earth would you go in for a Messi when your formidable defender in Thiago Silva has left? You didn't replace him. You brought another player who virtually has accomplished or has self-actualized in Ramos, who is also injury-prone. So they are not identifying the things that could make them achieve what they want to achieve. It's all about spending, and winning the league. And as of now, they are not even the team that has ultimately won most of them. Saint-Etienne is there. Okay. They've won it more than them. So PSG has failed. They failed. They are in their 12th year.
Okay.
They are entering their 12th year.
So you guys are confusing me now, because get me out of this confusion. So at one point, you convinced me how money plays a very pivotal role in clubs winning major laurels. And then we zeroed in on.
Don't be confused.
So we dovetailed it. We dovetailed into, the PSG project.
Yeah.
And then at one point, you are telling me how it's had to fail. Beyond, how much they've had to invest in that particular project. So get me out of this confusion. On one breath, you guys are saying money plays a central role. On another breath, you're telling me the PSG project has failed.
Basically, what we are literally speaking the same language. Basically, what we are saying is that money plays a central and pivotal role in bringing laurels. But
then it should have guaranteed Paris Saint-Germain success.
How you spend the money is what we are talking about.
Yeah.
The fact that you have money to throw around does not mean that you can get anything. Because if you look at PSG, and like Percy went there, what was a target? A target was after 5 years, after 6 years, or after the first year, after the first phase of the project, you need to at least win the Champions League. And you win the Champions League. We've said here time and time again that the Champions League and its make-up, you need to build a team that is tournament ready. If you look at the Champions League, there's a reason why there are certain class of teams that always win the Champions League. Once in a while, like you said, there will be that odd one that will come out once in 10 years, like Porto did.
Porto had actually won it before,
but at least in that, for a long time,
one will come in.
Exactly. Nottingham Forest, once in a while, they'll pop out. But there's a reason why there are some because those teams are built over a time.
They are cut for the Champions League.
Somebody argued that if you look at this Liverpool team, let me dovetail a little bit, they are built more for cup competitions and tournament competition, not for the long haul. And clearly, it's evident 1 in 7 in terms of the league. But when it comes to the cup competitions, they've been making successive semi-finals and finals in the last 3 seasons.
So they choke with a long when they have to go to
more of a marathon thing.
They choke when they have to go that long haul.
Exactly, because you need to build to suit whatever you're doing. That's where people think that Tuchel is trying to do with this Chelsea team, and it's not working. So for PSG, I think it's about how they've spent the money. And like Percy went there, what was the project initially with Leonardo? I think Leonardo got it all wrong. It's not just about buying big. You can buy big, Kofi. There are certain cars that are out there. There are huge price tags on them, but they're not quality. There are certain cars that have huge price tags on them, but they are quality. That's what we are talking about. Yeah, which players were they bringing in? Javier Pastore.
Yeah.
You want to build a team. Yes, Pastore at the time.
Percy at the time,
Percy
from Napoli.
You know, buying Verratti was good because at that time, when we talk about one of the best central midfielders in the world, you cannot,
but he's injury prone.
Yeah. He's injury prone. You look at what you were trying to do. I think Leonardo was just, let's throw money at
the money.
But if you look at Ocampos now, he's bringing in players that actually fit whatever PSG need. Look at the profile of midfielders he signed. Look at the profile of defenders he signed. He's not just going out there to splash big cash. There's actually a project that he's working. I listened to him in an interview where he says that, you know, whatever he's trying to do, there is a vision and there's a target. So I think that it's not just so much of, yes, we've all agreed that we need money to, as we speak, Kofi, no good thing it comes without what?
Money.
Splashing cash. As we speak, you need money to win laurels, but how you spend the money is very important. We can dovetail into Man City. How was it?
No, that's before we get there. Can we ever get back to those days where we celebrate academies as La Masia and all of those celebrated academies? Scattered around Europe, because you look at how clubs are spending. Not giving young players to develop and then come through the ranks, then it means that we cannot go back to do this again, where Lionel Messi would go through the ranks or go through the mill from La Masia, the likes of Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, and all of that. I want us to make a case study out of the La Masia project. Percy, let me begin with you on this. Given our conversation now, it means that we cannot go back to those days where players would come from the youth system.
I believe that's not the only thing we cannot go back to. I always, now I have this ideology that there are 3 things we can go to. 1 is the academy system. 2 is the longevity of a coach in one club. And 3 is a one-man club player. It's not going to happen again.
Explain to me.
Now let me start with the academy system. You see, the academy system was there to let's take the 60s and 70s. I'll give you maybe just 2 clubs. I'll give you Ajax and I'll give you Bayern. Bayern until the 70s were non-existent. They were in Division 1 with young players. Beckenbauer, a young player. There was Sepp Maier, a young player. And there was Müller, a young player. They almost did not make it into even Bundesliga 1. They were in Bundesliga 2. It took Gerd Müller's goal for them to come to Bundesliga 1. That is 69. Then in 70 they came into Bundesliga 1. A Bundesliga proper. And when they came, it was this same crop of players who stayed. The academy system. They went through, won their league 72. The same crop went into the German national team, won the Euros, continued, won the league in 73, went to the World Cup. The same players with German national team won it. So they won the league 3 consecutive seasons. They are the same players that also won the Euros and also the World Cup for them. If you take that of Ajax, and that time Bayern was not a big team. Mönchengladbach was a bigger team than Bayern. The funny thing is that after Bayern won 3 consecutive, Mönchengladbach also came to win 3 consecutive. And they are the last 2 teams to win 3 consecutive. That is straight. Now after that, Ajax also started the same system. When Rinus Michel was there, they started with Cruyff and Ajax was a small team. So after Bayern won the 3 straight, then Ajax took over. Then they also won.
You mean the Champions League?
Champions League. So it was like 3-3. Bayern, then Ajax. No, Ajax started, then Bayern continued. Ajax was 70, 71, 72, 73. Then Bayern continued with that stretch. And those times too, they were small teams. They were not big teams. who started it. As at that time, the only biggest established team in the world was Real Madrid. By then, they had won the Champions League on 6 occasions, 5 straight, then another one in the mid-60s. So they had already won that. And as at that time, the only recognized big team in the world, almost every team was not that rich.
Okay.
But when we got into the after the 80s coming, that was when we really had things like sponsorship in football. Sponsorship with boots. Maybe another time we'll get into
those realms.
So sponsorship. So when sponsorship started coming in, then the sponsors are expecting to see marquee players in the team.
Okay.
So now instead of waiting for a young player
to develop,
no, they want to give it to the fans.
Quick fix sort of.
Yes, it started with players like Maradona. Maradona was bought as an most expensive player into Barca, then as the most expensive player into Napoli, the first player to do that. So this is when it started. But by then, other teams were still sticking to the academy system. But then the next thing that changed in the 90s was when now there was also more influx, especially when Premiership was changed from the Championship into the English Premier League.
Yeah.
That is in 1992.
Yeah.
And money was invested in. Now the teams had the money.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest players to start with this whole thing was Alan Shearer, being bought into Blackburn. He was the British highest, most expensive player.
Yeah.
Then he was also bought into Newcastle. So the buying of these big players resulted into now the teams could not wait. They have to invest.
Yeah.
And in investing.
So now zero in on why you think we cannot go back to those days where players will come through the ranks and all of that.
The major thing that is one is sponsorship is one. TV right is two. The hunger for trophies by the fans.
Yeah.
United, like a team, for instance, has been spoiled with trophies. The fans have seen trophies.
They are used to winning.
They have seen treble. Me, I have seen treble. I have seen treble before. This is not the time we are going to. It is not. You see, those days that United had those academy. United had won 1 Champions League. One.
Okay.
How many league trophies have they won? But now they've seen it. And the sad thing is that they have seen their compatriots now winning it. Is it now the time you are waiting for Marcus Rashford to now come before you will now promote him, whilst others are? So now, the major one, like I said, is the trophies that are being won by their compatriots. 2, their past history. 3 is the sponsorship that has come in. In sponsorship coming in, TV rights coming in, we expect to see the best of the best.
Okay.
Because of that, even the teams that had their own tradition, you have to throw the tradition away. Yeah. Look at Barca. It is not because Barca's La Masia is inactive. But now, this is not the time Barca has to wait. Madrid is winning trophies. Even Atletico Madrid is buying big. Are you still going to rely on La Masia? So now they will spend money to go and buy Lewandowski, a 34-year-old player, over 40 million.
That's fine. Percy is convincing me that La Masia is dead.
I think that if you look at this whole academy structure, currently it will be difficult for one club to basically say that I want to build my entire team around academy boys. Louis van Gaal tried to do it when he was a coach of Barcelona by saying that he'll be the first manager to win the Champions League with all 11 players coming from the academy. Especially with La Masia, we've never had a Barcelona side that practically the entire 23, 26 man squad are all from La Masia. You cannot, the current terrain of football does not permit that. You literally want to rely on academy boys to give you the result. Why am I saying this? Because talent is spread across. Talent is not just located in Spain. It's not just located in England. It's not just located in Germany. Back then, you could just pinpoint certain countries where talent, they are the pool of talent. Do you get it? Back then, it was in Holland. The best of players were coming from the Dutch league. Ruud Gullit,
Marco van Basten, Rijkaard,
Frank Rijkaard. The best of talent were coming
Koeman,
from. So,
Dennis Beckham.
Even the great Johan Cruyff. The best of talents were centered in one country. Even in the mid 2000s to the late 2000s, the best of talents were centered in Spain. And so, but now the talents are spread across. You could get them in Austria. You could get them in Sweden. You could get them in Germany. You could get them in England. The talent are spread across board. If you look at the English system, they are producing some of the best young talent across the globe. In Jadon Sancho.
So, in your final analysis,
I feel that, you see, in an era where the La Masia produced in that 87, I think is the best season that produced the La Masia. It's 1987. It had Andres Iniesta, it had Lionel Messi, it had Cesc Fabregas, it had Piqué. They were all playing for that Barcelona setup. The 2 years before, it had Xavi, it had Iniesta. We are not so much going to see that, but the good thing is that if you look at this current Barcelona setup, up until Nico leaving to join Valencia on loan, the core of the team actually are La Masia boys, in Pedri, in Gavi, in Ansu Fati. Last season, they were literally the ones holding down the fort for Barcelona before the new guys came in. So it's not so much that I feel we can rely on academy players, but they will not be the go-to players to, what is it called, attracting the big money and the big sponsorship, because there are players out there that people want to pay and see. Domestically, they want to pay and see Pedro and see Ansu Fati. But in terms of the global viewership, they want to see Erling Haaland.
Before we go, though, I want us to look at the Glazers. How different have they been from the Qataris? I mean, the owners of Paris Saint-Germain, because it looks like they've been spendthrift. Like, they spend, but then their spending has no value. Because you look at the kind of players they've had to bring through to Old Trafford. It doesn't translate into how they've had to perform on the field of play.
A quick one.
Or it doesn't translate into them winning trophies.
Yeah, I'm not going to even spend.
So I feel like they've been spendthrift.
No, I don't. I agree slightly on that. You do not blame the Glazers for the poor performance of the players. Tell me, unless Popova is a bad player. At the time they were signing Popova, he was arguably one of the best midfielders in the world.
Coming from this area.
Exactly. Yeah. And he was an old boy of Manchester United. They bought him for a world record fee. Yeah. At the time they were buying Harry Maguire, he was one of the best central defenders in England. Do you get it? They brought in Sanchez. They brought in Lukaku. They've bought some of the best players in the world. It's more the fact that...
like my point is, all of those signings yielded no result.
So you do not blame the Glazers. How have these players been used?
No, that's why I'm saying that they've been spendthrift.
When you say somebody has, because it is the duty of the Glazers to ensure that we provide enough financial capital to ensure that the club is sustainable financially and what.
No, you told me a while ago. You just don't go to the market and buy. You buy quality.
They bought quality. Is Pogba not quality? At the time he was bought, was Maguire not quality? The reason why Maguire did not go to City was just because of £2 million. Because City, a lot of people do not know, City were actually the guys who first made the bid to Leicester City.
They made overtures on Maguire?
Yes, Maguire, City. But just £2 million. They just didn't want to pay. And Manchester United came in and Maguire went to Manchester United.
So quickly, what's your take on that too? Briefly.
For me, of course, like he said, you can't blame the Glazers with respect to the players that they've bought, but players are not only bought so that they would come and perform on the field. Players are bought so that they will also be able to generate some sort of income, maybe when they are being sold after a couple of, maybe some time. But you check Glazers, there have been too many bad businesses that they've done. But I'm not going to say that their reign compared to Qatar, the gap is very wide. At least there's one Champions League being won. They've won about 5 league trophies, and it's not bad, but it's not good too. Yeah, it's not good. In their time, of course, United's revenue tripled. Yeah, but tripled. Of course, the rest have not caught up. They are still the highest in terms of revenue earning, but the question is that how have they given back to United? During this time that they've earned or they've been able to spend about 1.7 billion euros, that's 1.4 billion pounds. They've only been able to sell players only 400 million, meaning that there is a deficit of about 1.1 billion. That's how much they've lost, and the amount of money that they've put back into the club is just 180 million pounds. Do you know that Brighton and Hove Albion have even put more money in the club in terms of infrastructure? Brighton and Hove Albion. have given over 180 million pounds. That's around 183 million pounds.
Yeah.
United has just 118. For Liverpool is way over 250 million. So even in infrastructure wise, of course, it goes beyond football. But then, with respect to money handling, we have already told you that Glazers did not come to buy United with money. They came, amortize the deal,
yeah.
Whatever earnings United get.
That's legal in England.
It's legal. It's understandable.
Business.
So it's more like they didn't bring their money. They put the money in, and almost every revenue United gets, they send it back into paying their debt. Now they've paid almost 750 million pounds. So on the pitch, they are buying the players. The question is that who advises them whenever they are buying? That is the problem. Okay. Because like I said, they've not done anything wrong. They gave Maguire. They were willing to sacrifice Mkhitaryan for Alexis, paid him over 550,000 pounds a week. They have done that.
Okay.
They brought in Cavani, they brought in Ronaldo. Who advises them to buy these players? Because I don't think Malcolm Glazer is a football person.
Maybe why Lucky has always espoused that viewers they need a sporting director.
But actually they do in Metal.
My drink is done actually.
But come on.
Really? My drink is done. But that's beautiful.
The beautiful and amazing thing is that your drink is done. They'll serve you at the bar. The garden bar.
Everything about Red Mango is super
amazing. So hey, if you are in Takrady, if you can see the scenery, we are the garden bar. But if you are in Takrady, the Western region in Ghana, this is the place to be. Wherever you're coming from, if you need the best, holiday destination, the best place to be is at Red Mango.
So there's everything here to make your weekend a very stupendous one.
So maybe you can order for a new drink or something from
sure. But you can also subscribe to Sports 101.
Sports 101 channel on YouTube. Follow us on our various social media platforms. Comment and like and share as well. Kofi.
Drink is done.
Let's order for a new one.